on the subject of kids, we've got a question from a 10-year-old, Lisa Fields' young lad. He says he's a striker and he wants to know, what position did you play and what age did you play football, I think, when you first started?
Yeah. So, as always, everyone, I was a striker, as always. So, from a kid, nobody grows up wanting to be, as much as there's been some great centre-halves in time, nobody grows up wanting to be a centre-half. In my year, I was watching Romario, Bebeto, Ronaldo, Eric Cantona was my hero. I grew up a Man U fan. Andy Cole, Dwight York. So you always wanted to be a striker. You want to be the magic man. And everybody does, yeah. That's what I was. Yeah. And that's what I was as a kid. As a kid, particularly, I was not necessarily that much bigger than everyone else, but I was a little bit bigger than the rest. And I was lightning quick. So when it came to Sunday League, I'd score 50 goals a season just from playing behind. I'd outrun them. And I'd just smash it high because the keepers are small. So it just used to be, I had an ability to smash it high knowing that they won't be able to save it. So that was my thing. And then I think what happened is I played district football, I played county football. So district I played anywhere they wanted me to, but a lot of times centre mid. And county, I actually started as a right wing back, but then played up front and then played defence. So I played everywhere, but it was once, I think I was 14 and my Sunday League team, we had a big centre half at 14 that was like 6'2" and beard and everything. So he was the early mature one, and he broke his leg. And I was kind of like the next biggest as such, but I was a good footballer. I could play anywhere. So I was asked, would you play centre half for the rest of the season? Just to, Adrian's not going to be back, blah, blah. So I went there and I was with my best mate that went to my school and everything, and ended up becoming the Twin Towers. We just dominated games and started to enjoy it. Obviously still like playing up front when I went to district and county and stuff like that. But yeah, it became my position. And then eventually when I started going on trials to different levels, be it to county, I started playing that position more so than actually saying I'm a forward. And then, and then eventually I was scouted as a defender. And that's kind of where I got stuck in the end. If I'd been scouted as a striker, prolific striker, I'd have been all right. But I went to Wimbledon as a kid, 15 years old. My PE teacher had a link with them, but also the guy that scouted me, Martin Hedder, he'd seen me play for my county. So it was kind of, I got sent because of, basically I got sent rather than the other lads because of my attitude. So in terms of at school, there were probably about 3 or 4 of us on the same level, but my teacher knew he could trust me. So because he knew he could trust me, I wasn't going to get in a fight. I wasn't going to be rude. I was going to be P's and Q's and all that. He knew he could trust me, and that's what got me more than the other lads. So, sliding doors moments that I was given an opportunity because I was a nicer lad or a better kid at school. And then I went on trial. I got a year's contract just before you go to scholar. And unfortunately for me, I had 4 months of that was growing pains in my hips, where you maturity and all that. And unfortunately, the writing was on the wall, but I've always been proactive that I saw that I was going to get released because they had a lad down from Newcastle that had just been released from Newcastle. And he was down like pretty much like twice a month kind of thing for games, just so they could keep an eye on him kind of thing. So I kind of saw the writing on the wall. They're going to sign this kid, but I just stayed there, got the best training I could, tried to get in front of as many other teams in terms of coaches from the neighbouring teams that we play against as much as I could. And then when I got released, I was ready mentally, and I wrote off a load of CVs to 30 odd clubs in the southeast, and then Luton came in, and that was it. And that's where I went. And again, I tried to kind of revert to I can play anywhere.
Do you literally write a CV?
I did.
Is that what you do?
Well, this is what I did. Back then, not every 15-year-old, 14-year-old had an agent. And I didn't have an agent until I was 20-odd anyway. Yeah. But it was a case of, I've always been taught you don't ask, you don't get. So I'm not a beggar, but if I don't ask, you don't get. And basically, it was at the time we just finished school. So at school, you'd just done your CV in terms of working CVs. Yeah, of course, you just learned how to put it together. So I just implemented that structure into a football CV. So Brilliant. From there, I just wrote, teams played for, doesn't matter to them, but it's like Waltham Forest Youth, Grasshoppers, positions played, goals scored, height, weight, you know, and ultimately I said, whether it was the thing that made them actually read it because I'd sent a CV rather than saying, please, can you give me a trial? Then obviously they noticed it. And for me, the best thing that ever happened was obviously Luton came 2 days after I sent the letter. And I went straight there and never looked back. You know, it's the best thing that ever happened to me because, you know, if I think to Wimbledon, if I'd got a scholar there, they end up turning him to MK Dons and moving a couple of years into it. So that might have been a difficult thing to then be at home, to then uproot and everything like that. So, it's the best thing that ever happened to me.